Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. This is the show that'll help you become your best self. And today we're talking about how to build self-esteem. But before we jump into that, as always, I want to invite you to come say hi to me on social media. I am at Sabrina Joy Perozzo on both TikTok and Instagram. You can see how to spell that down in the show notes below. I also invite you to send me an email at realpositivegirlpodcast@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, progress, feedback, topic suggestions, anything that you would like to relay to me, or if you just want to share what's going on with your life, I would love to respond to you there. You can also find the link in the show notes to sign up for my weekly newsletter, which comes out every Wednesday afternoon, early evening, and you can check that out. I have a lot of little therapy tidbits and just, I feel like relatable short stories that can help you, learn something new and find something else that you want to work on within your mindset and your mental health. So check that out. And I think that's it. So check the show notes at the end of the show for all links and interesting things you could check out. But let's go ahead and jump into today's episode, which again is how to build self-esteem. So I'm still working on building self-esteem. I am 36 years old and I am still working on building self-esteem. I think for me, it will be something I'm working on for a really long time because I have people pleaser built so deeply in me that it's going to take some time. Because for me, I only started to improve myself with actual purposeful intent about 5 years ago, I would say, because I feel like I've been trying to, better myself a majority of my life, but with actual purposeful intent on figuring out what needs to happen that will work for me and trial and error and all that stuff. It's been, I would say, relatively recent. So I feel like I'm kind of behind on this, but I try not to see it that way because it doesn't help me stay focused on the goal of building my self-esteem up. So if you feel similarly, regardless of whether you are quote unquote behind on, having a good, strong sense of self-esteem, you're not. Just don't think of it that way. Plus the fact that we all develop different understandings of emotions and all deal with different mindset and mental health struggles at different times in our life. And honestly, you could go through most of your life with a strong amount of self-esteem and then something happen and then it just drops off and it becomes lower self-esteem. You have to work your way back up. So just keep that in mind as well. If you feel like you've had it in the past and it's bottom of the barrel right now, you can build it back up again. No worries. So just so we understand what we're talking about, as always, self-esteem is how you view yourself. It's how you perceive your skills and talents and what you can and can't do, what you believe that you can and cannot do. And it can also be seen as how well you appreciate and accept yourself despite any struggles that occur. So if you have a healthy amount of self-esteem, you still consider yourself smart and capable and have the ability to, continue on, even if some sort of big problem or issue came your way, you still believe in yourself and know that you can get through it and and you're not going to all of a sudden crash, hit rock bottom all of a sudden just because this issue has come up and you have to problem solve it and figure out what to do next. You know what I mean? But when we lack self-esteem and have low self-esteem, we don't put a lot of value in what we can do, at all. It's a minimum, despite others telling us otherwise. So if other people are trying to help us be built up in our mindset and be like, yeah, no, you're really good at this, or you're amazing at that, or, don't be too hard on yourself. You're going through and learning things and becoming stronger and a better version of yourself. It's no matter the compliments and the positive things that are said to you, you're like, no, that ain't me. And it's tough though, because when you have low self-esteem, it's hard for you to accept compliments. It's hard for you to really receive that positive feedback from people because you're like, what, me? No, that can't be me. And, our thoughts and ideas are also undervalued by us as well with that low self-esteem. And, when we have a healthy amount of positive self-esteem, we will have like self-confidence on board, which sounds so nice and rich. It's just like, yeah, confident. I'm ready to take on the world. We will be feeling secure in who we are and what we're going through in life. So it's like, okay, we know that who we are is a good person and we feel good about it. We feel good about like the season of life that we're in. We're going to figure and navigate in and out of whatever is thrown at us, right? You feel good about that. And as well as a sense of belonging and belief that we are just as worthy of being ourselves in this world as anyone else is. So if you are on the healthy side of self-esteem, you're like, oh yeah, I deserve respect just like you deserve respect. I belong here. I can be here. I can be a part of this. I can do this thing. Like I fit right in, right? And it sounds so nice, you guys. It sounds so nice. I feel like there have been times where these things have been true, which is great. But a lot of times where they haven't. So maybe you like relate with that as well. In all of these things, with having a healthy amount of self-esteem and believing who we are and feeling secure and having self-confidence, these things play into our motivation, which, is very important to note because if we are lacking in motivation, we might want to check and see if our self-esteem is struggling, and that could be the link to that. But it's important that we actually have a healthy amount of self-esteem so that we, can muster up the motivation to keep going and push through things, right? So it plays into motivation, it plays into like what decisions we make and, whether we, continue to make decisions that will push us to do new things and out of our comfort zone, or if we make decisions to stand up for ourselves or to really just push ourselves to the next level or whatever it is, or to do something that we're really afraid to do, but we really do desire doing it. That is also in play with self-esteem. And then also just our emotional health in general, because if we have low self-esteem, it's possible that we also will develop or already have like anxiety, depression, and then other possible like mood disorders. And it can even affect things that have to do with eating and keeping your body healthy, all of these different things. So you can see how this is really important to get in line because low self-esteem is the reason also that a lot of people struggle with achieving their goals or stepping outside of their comfort zone or even feeling worthless to others. Like, oh, no one cares about me, or no one could possibly love me or accept me as a friend or anything like this, or they would never hire me for that job because I'm just not good enough. Like all of these different thoughts and swirling around because of low self-esteem. And, people with low self-esteem, myself included, they end up seeing themselves from like the lowest position with nothing to offer anyone. And they just feel like crap and it sucks. It's so bad. So that's why it really is important to keep our amount of self-esteem, like knowing whether it's healthy or whether it's low, in check so that we can make sure that we don't just plummet to the bottom and think that we are trash. And that kind of gets in the way of us, accomplishing things and living our best life, right? So it can get kind of rough. The inverse of this, though, I just wanted to mention this briefly, is that someone would have incredibly high self-esteem, meaning they are really feeling themselves, right? They're like, I am the best. I am awesome. They're not necessarily questioning whether they did something right or wrong. They just know they did it right because they did it. They are like all about who they are. No one can tell them differently. And the entitlement is like off the charts, my friends, off the charts. But, the downfall, outside of everything I just mentioned, is they will also struggle to see where they can improve. So the ego just gets bigger and it gets worse. And I don't think you really need to go much deeper into, a highly inflated self-esteem. I don't feel like that happens that often, but just be aware of that too. That's still not at the healthy level. It's too much in the opposite direction of low self-esteem. So having low self-esteem can manifest from different experiences, of course, right? As many things that plague us and cause us, stress and drama and struggles do. And it could be the way that you were treated in childhood, with people highlighting all the negatives and none of the positives, and it's like, adults putting you down and, never really showing you that love and care and attention that children need. I definitely feel like part of my self-esteem issues started when I was in childhood, because it was always like nitpicking and nagging and not love. And if it was love, there was always something else attached to it to be manipulative. So if you relate, I get you. But it could also appear after experiencing like bullying or some sort of abuse. Maybe you experience some prejudice or discrimination, right? Going through loss in your life could also cause you to develop low self-esteem. So whether that loss was like a friendship or a romantic relationship where you broke up or got divorced or something like that, you had a job, you lost a job, there's actually a death of someone close to you, so an actual loss, or financial stability like issues that could trigger it as well. All of these things and many more that I haven't listed here could be the reason that your low self-esteem has manifested. And we cannot forget negative body image and comparing what you look like to others, because I feel like that's like one of the classic examples and reasons why people's self-esteem plummets to be low. And I have been in that boat as well, my friends. So if you're there, you're not alone. But regardless of how it has manifested in your life, it's here, right? So let's just live in the present. Like, it's manifested. This happened. I mean, it's important to know that, which we'll get into in a second. But right now, it's here. And we need to focus on getting it turned around to be more neutral, healthier, and supportive of living your best life. That is the goal. So here are 5 tips on how to build up your self-esteem that could help you. And again, this is not a conclusive list. If you feel like these tips do not align with what you believe will help you build your self-esteem, please talk to a professional like a therapist or a counselor, or go on Google and look up your own answers. This is just based on my own research, knowledge, experience, and other people's experiences. So let's jump into the list. This first one is find the source. So even though I was like, regardless of how it manifested, I say that because it's like, whatever way it manifested matters, but we really need to put the time and energy into how to turn it around. However, how to turn it around is to at least identify the source. How was it manifested in your life? What triggered your low self-esteem? So for me, I identified that it was partially childhood, partially like body image. I would say I do fall into comparing myself to other people a lot, which really sucks. And I would say definitely partially a job, but not in a situation of losing a job, more in a situation of not necessarily being treated the same at work and not being able to rise up in the ranks and in positions like other people are, and just feeling really bad about myself because of that. And so that's kind of like how mine manifested. So it's important for you to find the source of what triggered your low self-esteem. And then when you identify that and find the trigger, you can heal that wound to move forward. So for me, I would definitely want to focus on the fact that I did not get the positive attention that I needed as a child, and kind of come to terms with that. And I have done that, come to terms with it, forgiven, the lack of parents doing what I felt like would be the right thing, and just moved on. I'm just like, okay, well, that sucks, but I need to no longer let this linger in my heart and prevent me from, believing in myself and loving myself and thinking of myself highly, right? And then also with the body image thing, which would go hand in hand with comparison, I need to tell myself, hey, we just need to no longer compare myself and really figure out like, well, what is it that I want that they have in regards to body image and comparison? And can I make a plan to get something similar that would fit my life, like that fits their life, that, kind of considering those things. And then the whole job thing is really just to, that one I haven't fully solved yet. It still kind of like irks me, but I think my thing of healing that wound will end up being like working for myself and just being an entrepreneur, to be honest with you. So that's that's kind of like the system that I would take, find the source, what triggered your self-esteem, and then heal those wounds. And then you'll be able to move forward and really be able to boost up that self-esteem. Okay, so number 2 is make sure you have positive relationships. Make sure that you have positive relationships in your life. It's important. It may sound simple on this list, and I would say everything seems simple, but doesn't mean it's necessarily easy, right? And you can't fill your life with toxic people. I know sometimes people that are toxic and a little overdramatic can seem more fun because, they're talking about all these crazy stories and things that are happening to them. And it's not as difficult to lean and really focus on the negative and the problems that you're having in your life rather than really taking the time to focus on the positives and what's going right or what you can work on and progress in. So I understand. And also, a lot of times we feel empathetic. We feel bad for these toxic people. So we want them in our lives. So hopefully we can inspire them to change. And that doesn't really happen. You know what I mean? So make sure that you have people in your life that will support you and be there to cheer you on and encourage you when you need it and to, really pump you up and be like, oh yeah, you're good at this. You're totally fine. You just got to remember that you are really good at this thing and you've worked so hard at it and this can help you get to the next level of this, that, and the other. And I'm not saying that you can't have any toxic people in your life because I understand that sometimes we have toxic people in our life because they're like really close family or friends and you just don't have the heart to boot them out of your life. I totally understand. I feel like all of us are there. It's just important to maybe make sure that the balance is more off balance in towards of having more positive relationships and less toxic ones. So you have people that are there to support you. And it's important to have people supporting you for building self-esteem because they're there to help you stand up tall and have kind of give you borrowed confidence, I would say, because if they want to give you a compliment or just remind you of how good you're at something or how you've progressed so far and, hit all these milestones and you're doing better and better and to remind you of the work that you're putting in and that we just need to actually believe and accept that those positive things are happening in our life and we'll be able to build our self-esteem up to be like, oh yeah, you're right. I am really good at this. I feel confident in this. This is going well. It's okay to make mistakes. Like we're all good, right? So having those positive relationships in your life can really be that extra boost that you need to be reminded, oh yeah, I'm actually really good. Okay. I'm really great. I'm worthy. I am cared for. I am, doing my best. Those kind of reminders, they're always nice. Number three is swap self-criticism for self-compassion. I feel like I've been talking about this a little bit more and more about switching from criticism to compassion because a lot of us will live most of our life being super critical of ourselves. So instead of always tearing yourself down, start picking yourself up with acknowledging the things that you're improving in, the goals you're making progress on, and giving yourself grace when you make mistakes and focusing on the lessons and not the losses when you experience failure. Yeah, it's really good, right? It's super helpful. So make sure that you are acknowledging the things that you're improving in. It's important for your self-esteem to know that you are, and remind yourself, this also moves into having a growth mindset that, hey, you're continuing to put in the time, the dedication, and the work to get better at something. you're improving, you should feel proud about that. And then that helps you to feel good about who you are and what's happening, and you will be able to increase your self-esteem. When you talk about the goals that you're making progress on, again, you are making progress towards achieving a goal that you have desired for whoever knows how long. And maybe like achieving that goal will also lead to something else, something to still, again, feel proud about and excited that you were able to get through any struggles or problems that came along with progressing towards this goal. And it's still like on track and you feel really good about that. And then giving yourself grace when you make mistakes, of course, because we're all going to make mistakes. And it's important for you to not like come down on yourself like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you did that, because it's like, yeah, you did that. That happened. That sucks. It might ruin something else, but hey, this is where we are. Let's figure out what we need to do next, rather than just coming down on ourselves and making ourselves feel like triply worse. And then focusing on lessons and not losses when you experience failure is really important too, because again, failure and mistakes, one of the best ways to learn and experience things and take that knowledge into the future to be used to try again or try something different. And when we are focusing more on the lesson that we've learned rather than the loss that we took with that failure, we are way better off and more prepared for whatever comes in the future. And we're able to bounce back and be resilient regardless of what's going on. I'm not saying you're going to be happy as a clam. You're just going to be able to like keep it going, keep it moving, right? So yes, it's important to really swap self-criticism for more self-compassion and being understanding that you are human. No one is perfect. And, forgiving yourself, because we will never be perfect at this, right? I feel like we'll have a hard time really trying to like lean more into compassion than criticism, but at some point we'll get it. So it'd be easy to shift over to compassion when we're knee deep in criticism and to stay more on the compassion side on the regular. But, we just need to trend more in the direction of being nice and forgiving to ourselves and not always reminding ourselves how terrible we are at everything, this, that, and the other, or just everything. So just remember that. Okay, number 4 is acknowledge what you're good at and what needs work. Acknowledge what you're good at and what needs work. So write it down or put it somewhere to reference during those down moments. And when I say down, I mean those moments where you're sitting in your pit of despair and you're just feeling bad about yourself and you're really knee deep in that low self-esteem where you don't think that anyone cares about you. You feel like everyone is better than you are. You're only focusing on your weaknesses. It's not good, right? So write down and be honest, because a lot of times we like to be like, oh no, it's not that big of a deal. No, be honest and write down all the things you're really good at. And if it's hard for you to be honest, I want you to think of these things that you know that you're good at and you're excelling in as someone else's skills and traits, and then be able to acknowledge them that way. If you pretend they're not yours, it's easier for you to write those down and acknowledge and accept those and be impressed by those things. So write it all down. Then write down what you're working and progressing at as well. So what you are on track to accomplish and achieve, and things that you are getting better at. Both of these things serve as reminders of what you can feel proud and good about in relation to yourself and what you're currently working towards, which shows dedication to becoming better, which obviously is fan-freaking-tastic, right? So you acknowledge what you're good at because it'll help to kind of, fill you up with this positive, I don't want to say vibe. That's not the right word. These positive feelings and this excitement and pride of knowing that, oh yeah, I'm really good at this. And maybe you'll reflect on times where people have acknowledged that you're really good at this and how you've put all this time and effort and energy in getting really good at this. And that makes you feel good too. And that fills you up a little bit more, and your self-esteem will start to boost because you're like, oh yeah, I'm good at this. Yeah, I have a place in this. Yeah, I've done the work and put in the time and the effort and it's working out. And that makes me feel more confident. That makes me feel more secure in who I am and what I have to bring to the table, bring to society, bring to the world. You know what I mean? So just make sure that you are acknowledging what you're good at. And then what needs work really will just, people would think that, I feel like some people would think that If you acknowledge what needs work or what's in process, that would lower your self-esteem. But no, it's going to help boost your self-esteem because you're not giving up, which demonstrates determination and the fact that you're going to keep trying. And you know that if you just continue to move forward, you will progress in some way. And you're also acknowledging that you're not perfect, which again is that confidence, but also humility of like, hey, I'm still working this out, but I feel good about it. I feel good about the direction I'm going. I'm asking for help when I need it. And I feel good to improve myself and always continually bettering yourself. You see what I mean? Yeah. So that's a good one too. Okay. They're all good. I don't know why I say that. It's just, yeah, that's a good one too. Okay. 5. And the last one that I have to share with you today is defeat comparison, which I mentioned many times is one of my own personal downfalls. Defeat comparison by seeing others as inspiration and not competition. So the reason that it was really important for me to put this tip in and not some other tip like believe in yourself and get courage. Like when you go online and you like type in like I even if you do agree with these steps and these things will help you, I want you to go online and type it in. Type it into Google and be like, how to, increase self-esteem or boost self-esteem or whatever. And some of the tips that come up, they're like, yeah, believe in yourself, be optimistic and just have the courage. And I'm like, those are such fluffy answers. Like, yes, there's, sure, somebody could take that advice and be like, okay, all I need to do is believe in myself. And then all of a sudden they believe in themselves and then they're fine. But I feel like the majority of us are not like that. We need more tips that are not as fluffy as that, as like, just believe in yourself and just have the courage. It's like, no, no. So anyway, I needed to make sure that I put this tip in because, I feel like acknowledging what you're good at, it's a classic tip. And then really focusing more on self-compassion. It's a good classic tip. But this one, I think it's really important, okay? I think I've conveyed that. So defeat comparison by seeing others as inspiration and not competition. So instead of always looking over and the grass is always greener and like feeling bad about yourself and feeling like you are not as worthy as other people, you don't deserve as much as other people, and all of these negative things because you don't have what they have and you'll never be like them because they have all the fame and the fortune and the friends and the spouse and the kids and the money and whatever. Instead of being like, woe is me, I feel bad that I don't have those things, see it as inspiration. And I'm not saying like direct inspiration, and I didn't even want to say motivation. I wanted to say inspiration. Hopefully those people will inspire you to push yourself towards the goals that are right for you. Because just because what they are doing looks glamorous and looks like the perfect life, it may not be the perfect life for you. It probably is not, right? Because it seems nice and easy, but it also has their skills and personality and temperament attached to it and work ethic and abilities and whatever. And yours are going to be a little bit different, even if they seem similar. So it's important just to see our desire to compare ourselves to other people as more of inspiration of like, okay, they're hitting their goals. What goals can I do? And how do they set up their milestones that they hit so they can see how they're progressing? And who did they ask for help, right? And how often are they taking time to engage in self-awareness and understanding themselves better? And all of these things. Have anything that you feel you would normally compare yourself to be an inspiration to do that thing in your own way that will serve you best. Focus on you, focus on what you need to do and what would help you most, and not what they're doing and how you just like want to lust after everything they have, because that'll get you nothing and you'll end up feeling worse, most likely. So defeat comparison by seeing others as inspiration and not competition. But that is all the tips that I have for you today on how to build self-esteem. Again, if these tips weren't right for you, you can use Google. You can use Google and read tips like just believe in yourself. And maybe that works for you. It definitely does not work for me and a lot of other people that I've spoken with. So regardless, I hope that this has helped. So thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast, again with me, Sabrina. Make sure you check the show notes below for you to come follow me and say hi on social media, or send me an email, or sign up for my weekly newsletter, or do anything and everything else that is down there in the show notes. But until next time, have a good one, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.